Let's see if I can do tech stuff today, guys. All right. Welcome to Shift. Did anyone get to go to any of the other classes? Yeah. Good stuff so far. Anything? Want to share anything? Anything great? Put you on the spot.
I think I got from the first session was like mindset. Kind of does a lot with like what you'll accomplish also too.
Love that.
It kind of sets the tone for the rest of your career, I kind of feel.
Absolutely. I love that. We're probably going to touch a lot on that. I do think it's super important on how you're showing up because you will attract the same kind of energy. So if you're showing up defeated or scared or anything like that, you're going to find people like that. So if you don't want to show up like that, we'll work through how to work over those problems. But yeah, so we're welcome to Power Through a Shift, the 6 strategies. It's not about the market, it's about what you do. So I am Ashton Gonzalez. I have been Director of Lead Gen, and I say that with air quotes because it's not really like a title anymore, for Holt Homes Group for 7 years. And I love it. Lead generation is my like strongest flow state that I've ever been in. And the reason is because I really do think I can help people get to their real estate goals. And it's so much fun. And there's so much opportunity if you are looking for it in the right places and you have the right mindset. So the thing about it is we're always in some sort of a shift. It just depends on how you're looking at the market. So I just want to make sure that we always keep it as a positive place, that there's business to be had out there. It's just where we're looking for it. So one of the great things about this is we're going to talk about what we're calling, who we're calling, and then what do we say. So the first half is going to be more of that. And then we're going to kind of break down what we can deliver as well. So the message of the market, how we can bring value to them. So we're going to be covering the 4th strategy, and it's find the motivated. So how long has everyone been in real estate in the room?
2 years. So 1 year.
1 year?
Year and a half.
Year and a half?
10 months.
Yay!
6.5 years.
Okay.
A year and a half.
8 months. Woo! Oh, we got some anniversaries coming up. That's exciting. So I started in 2016, which was an election year, and it was very similar to what's going on right now. So the great thing about it is that we are in such a seasonal market. It's actually relieving because 2020, we did not know what was going to happen. So the great thing about it right now is it's going to be a little bit easier for you guys to pick up on some of this stuff versus the unknown of what the economy was doing in the past. So right now, so far, you guys have gotten right and real with our mindset. And that's what you guys, the first steps of the shift stages were, excuse me. So today we're going to drill down on the most important things, which is to survive. And that is through lead generation. So let's see if I can work this. Yeah, I can. Okay, great. So you guys have been through Get Real, Get Right. Did you do remargin your business?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, cool. And do more with less, which is leverage, which if you're a single agent, probably wasn't the most needed thing right now because the market center provides so much. But today is all about finding the motivated, which everyone in a sales business needs. So that's lead generation. If you've read Shift, you know that it's going to be about that. So the tactics are still valuable, and anytime you read it, it's still applicable to what we're doing. Has anyone read Shift in the room? Yeah. What's your favorite part about it?
Oh, there's a lot.
This tactic? Okay.
It's definitely one of them, yeah.
It's number one. There is a lot of good stuff in there, and it doesn't go away. It was written in 2009, it's still applicable. So that's the great thing about it. I do want to start by saying that there is a TCPA compliance part. If you guys have questions about it, look it up. If you want to know my version of it, I'll tell you, not recorded. So just ask me questions afterwards if you want to know how to get on the phones differently. So by a show of hands, who is surprised that we're talking about lead generation? Anyone? No? No one, right? The foundation of sales is always lead generation. So would somebody read me this quote? Who would like to read it?
You must be more rigorous and resolute in your lead generation than ever before, and more so than anyone else. In fact, now is the time to shift your lead generation activities into the highest gear possible.
You get a candy. They're the good ones. There wasn't 100 grand, I went for it. Okay. So especially if you haven't been through a shift before, knowing what the highest gear possible, that's like a really ambiguous thing to say, right? Who feels like they're in their highest gear right now? of lead generation?
I guess you'd have to define that a little bit more. That's kind of broad.
Yeah. What do you think that you're showing up every day as the hardest that you've ever shown up in real estate? Which nobody has to answer that because I understand that that also is a lot of self-reflection of like, do I have more in the gas tank right now? And not everyone does. Like sometimes you have to think about like, why do I not have more? Why do I feel like I'm grinding so hard and this isn't going anywhere? And that's what we want to work on. So we're going to take the time to kind of talk through how we can get into the highest gear. So the objectives is find the motivated, which means time on task over time. So that's going to be more about time blocking, right? I mean, how many times do we hear that word? And then we're also going to talk about how to top grade your lead sources. Where should we be finding the motivated, and are they actually returning enough of business that it makes sense to reach out to them? And then this part, which is like the hardest thing, is follow up, reach out with value consistently, and over time consistently hit them, which we got to talk a little bit about earlier. So where do we think that we'd have the biggest gap? Do you guys think that time on task? Are you guys spending enough time doing it? Show of hands. Cool, okay. Does everyone know their top lead sources? Or does anyone? Okay, okay. Do we have an automated system, or are you guys reaching out consistently? Yes, okay. Couple, halfway. It's okay because we need to define what we need to focus on. So the time on task, over time, we can beat it like a dead horse. We're just going to have to do it no matter what. But I do know that this is one of the things that will make everything easier. So we'll touch on that a little bit more. Christian, would you read this for me?
The cause and challenge of a shift is simply one word: motivation.
Okay, such a tricky word. So, no, you don't get one. Just kidding. When the market's great, we have people buying and selling homes for many reasons. We were actually talking about this a little bit earlier, and we were talking through what's the difference is right now. So what do you guys think is the difference from this market versus the years before, even if you haven't been in it, what you've heard about it? What is different about this market right now?
I think a lot of people think they missed the market for them.
So they're
As far as selling,
disappointed?
like, oh, you know, I kind of missed the prime time to sell and get the most value out.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically they heard that they were gonna make a ton of money last year, and now they don't think they're gonna make any money.
Yeah,
or
it's not as crazy as it was. So.
Okay, I agree with that.
I think there's a recession coming, so they're just waiting. They don't want that. Yeah.
They're bunkering down kind of. They're just worried about their economy and like where it's headed. So staying put seems easier. It's the path of least resistance. Absolutely. So to say that, the motivated would then be who? Who would need to move right now?
Switching jobs or family.
Yeah, absolutely. So the thing about it is, the fact is there's never people that don't move. There's actually never been a day that like a home hasn't sold, because there's always reasons to be moving, and there's always people that are changing jobs. They could be getting more money. They could be getting less money. They're growing. They're getting divorces. Other things are happening. So that's the thing. There is always motivation. It's just figuring out how we need to turn the wheel to find the motivated in this market right now. So, would somebody like to read this? You get candy. Anyone? Anyone? Destiny?
Able, they have the means to go through the transaction. They are pre-approved to buy, or they can afford to sell now. Ready, they have a reason or motivation to move now. Willing, they are agreeable to doing what it takes to move now.
Yeah, the leads that will get you to the closed transactions are these three things: able, ready, and willing to move. And those are kind of tricky to define. It's not like you get a lead from Zillow that says, check yes, 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 they're all three of these things. We have to discover this in conversations and really well scripted questions to be able to understand that they're actually able to do all these things. And I actually I literally star this one. So willing, because in the market 2 years ago, it was so tricky with inventory that if you weren't willing to go like way over asking price, you weren't getting houses. We're just in a different market right now. So that's the thing where it's like, are they really willing to do what they need to do to get into a home or to sell a home right now? And that's the idea that, I mean, we could talk about foreclosures even. They have to be willing to say yes to list or willing to move to be able to do these things. Otherwise, decisions will be made for them. So it's just keeping that in mind, that they have to be able, ready, and willing. So just always think of that. And if you're talking to somebody and you're questioning, like, are they able to do all three of these things? This is what you need to go back to. Do they have a reason to move? Are they going to be agreeable that they'll be willing to do whatever it takes to get to the closing table? And are they able? Do they have the means? Do they have the money? Do they have another place to go afterwards? Otherwise, it will put a stop. You'll spend tons of time on the front side with them and they won't be able to move forward. So where can we find them? Here's some of the motivated sellers reasons. We can go really dark here. I don't really know all of you very well, so I won't make too many jokes about it, but there are 6 Ds to motivated sales. And this is what we call, Jen Davis quoted this a long time ago, aspirin moves versus vitamin moves. 2 years ago, we had more of vitamin moves, which meant that they were moving for the fact that they could. Money was cheaper. It's like 3% interest rate, 2% for some people. So they were able to buy houses with pools. They were able to upgrade very easily in that kind of a market. Now we're in a different place where they have to move. So, and this is the thing is, these exist all the time. In great markets, they still exist. So I don't know why this wouldn't be a consistent basis of your business, because no matter what, whether or not there's great economy, low interest rates, these all still exist all the time. So that being said, does anyone utilize any of these? Or any ideas of where to find them?
We try to.
Yeah. Where do you guys look for leads?
I mean, you can get in with a good attorney,
Okay.
like a divorce attorney or an estate planner, something like that.
Okay. So, and how would you get that started?
Scratch their back and they scratch yours.
True. Yeah.
Provide value to them.
Okay. And so, you know that they're in an industry that's pretty tough. So just loving on them and like getting to know them well, finding people that are like you in business will make it easier for you guys to network with them. It's daunting to think about calling an attorney, which I actually tried 3 months ago and they have not returned my call. So, but it was a divorce attorney. And I told him I was dealing with somebody that was going through a really rough divorce. I know that they deal with clients like that every day, and then properties come up in the middle of it. And I want them to be handled well, because what does happen, which I think we're handling another one over here. You're handling a divorce right now, right?
Yeah.
It's tricky, right? You have 2 people that are now no longer in the same house sometimes, that you have to communicate with both of them and keep their emotions at a tabled level so that they can still move forward. So it's a little bit hard, but okay, so let's mastermind, kind of think about where could we find these? Let's figure out where we could find them. So you've got an attorney. We'll go dark. Where does everyone end up?
Brown.
Okay, well, before that, who takes care of them before that?
Hospice, live-in, housing.
Mm-hmm. We got funeral homes. I mean, you could definitely reach out to anyone that's dealing with attorneys, estate sales, churches. They would be the ones that would kind of be in contact with those ones. Family members would probably be the easiest route in that to get to these 2. Deployment. Anyone? But if you have a connection through the military, that's one way to go about it. I know that there's actually some really great KW ones that are focused on military families. Downsizing, guess what happens when you get older? Stairs get harder. So if you're looking at it, you guys can always door knock older neighborhoods that have multiple levels, and they're going to be the ones that are going to be needing to get to a single level at one point. So any other ideas on those ones? Where to find them? Not now? Okay, that's okay. So who's ready to generate motivated leads? Any aha so far? You're ready? So that being said, there's some different ideas. Now, I know we've got some newer people to the business. Where are you guys finding the majority of your sources right now? Is it through internet leads, Sphere, Sphere,
My sphere as well.
Sphere, okay. And how are you reaching out to them? Social media?
Social media, calling them, texting them,
Good, that's awesome. Anywhere else that you guys are finding them?
door knocking.
Door knocking, good,
Open
good.
houses.
Yep, open houses, awesome. What about you?
Zillow, Expireds, Paid Inbound,
Mm-hmm.
and then Sphere
Yeah, absolutely.
database.
You guys, where do you find your main appointments and leads?
For several hours.
Yep.
Expires on the Google Leads.
Mm-hmm.
Sphere, sign calls, Google Leads.
And those are pay-per-click Google leads. Destiny, do you have any more of those?
As same expired, FISBOs, Facebook FISBOs.
That's a good one.
to Get leads. And
Yeah.
sign calls and pay leads.
Tons of areas that we can get leads from. I'm glad that you brought that up. So Facebook FISBOs, well, like one, we're gonna get into FISBOs, but they're raising their hand that they wanna sell. So as much as possible, like don't ever let that go by you guys. I just drove by one that's like right by our office. Like make sure that every time you guys see a sign, you guys like have a mental image, like I need to get that phone number and drive by that house and take a photo of the house and the phone number. If they're not advertised on Zillow or anything like that, they're gonna be ones that have not been reached out to a ton, and they're really great opportunities. Is anyone still nervous about prospecting? Yeah, okay. Me too. I'm always nervous about it. Yeah, I get that. It happens. Derek, where do you get your leads from? What?
Everybody in front of me?
Must be nice. So when adopting this new strategy, we begin by making a mental shifts. Without our minds being in the right place, we cannot know or be committed to the actions needed to succeed. So this is about the mindset, right? We got to get real. Where are we going to find these leads? How often do we need to talk to them? How do we convert them into being real business and turn them into closings? So can I get a volunteer to read this one for me? Anyone? Tyler, you're great.
You don't get to decide what the market will do, but you definitely get to decide what you will do.
Yep, extreme ownership right now. Are we doing everything that we can to get what we need done? If you guys want closings on the tables, are you guys showing up the way that you guys need to? So Gary Keller has said this about mindset, but I don't think that he's the original quote on this. Where there's a will, there's a way. Can we say that that's from a movie?
Yeah, it's probably.
I feel like that's okay. So the rule about it is that it is a contact sport. Welcome, by the way. The main thing is that we have to connect with enough people through prospecting and marketing, and then we have to have a way to follow up with them, make sure that we're still reaching out to them. We can't only call them once, and we have to put them in the database. So who is using Command as their main database right now? How healthy is it? Scale of 1 to 10.
I would say like 5.
5. Okay. But it's in there. It exists, right? You were in Command as well? Are you in Command? Are you in?
It's better than nothing, I mean, for sure.
Yeah. What are you in?
Boomtown.
Boomtown? Okay. And we just transitioned to Follow Up Boss. It's a thing. So it's great though. The CRM is great if you use it, no matter what system you're using. The only ones that work are the ones that you actually put time into. I heard this really great quote that database need to be like your favorite pillow. You guys need to be thinking about it regularly, touching it daily. Doesn't even matter if like you're not calling it, you need to be cleaning it up and making sure that you keep adding to it every single day. It's going to end up being your wealth at the end of the day. So here are the rules. Does anyone have any questions about them? I don't want to read them. They seem pretty basic. So how confident are you that you can find enough leads to meet your goals? Do we have big goals in this room? On a scale of 1 to 10, hold up your fingers. 1 being, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to my closing goal by the end of the year. 10 being, I'm going to surpass it. How confident are you that you can find enough leads to hit your goals? Okay. Go to 10, go 10, 6. Okay, that's good to know. So the reason is, what do you think that we have to change to find more leads or to find the people? Who's in charge of it at the end of the day?
You.
Yeah, 100%, right? It's like who's showing up, who's turning in the work, who's doing the time in the database to make sure that's actually working. So this is where we're gonna get into time blocking. So exciting. I think this is out of order though. It's okay though. So time blocking, the 80-20 principle. Who has not heard of the Pareto principle in this room? I know you guys are all students because I see you guys regularly in classes. So I know that you guys put a lot of effort into understanding this. So I don't want to go too much into it because I know we've heard a lot before. But the main thing that I want to emphasize is that we have to spend our time in the big rocks and then everything else will follow. But the main thing is that we have to put the effort into the top 20%. So, Hunter, would you read this for me?
To grow, let go. Now more than ever, your personal actions, your people, and your systems must be focused on the 20% that matters. There is no time or money in doing the 80%. Just let it go.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so the top people are doing lead generation for an average of 3 hours a day. So how many hours do you guys sleep a day? 6, 7, 8, 6. You're 6. Good for you. I'm at a solid 8. Do we have anyone that's at 10? You don't have to admit it. You just, you know who you are. You are there. So that being said, if you sleep an average of 8 hours, 19% of your day would be 3 hours, which would be the time that you need to spend in lead generation. The reason that I say that is because I want us to think about it differently. Like, I think everyone looks at it as like, oh my gosh, that's such a huge chunk of time to go from 8 to 11 in the morning and having to be on the phones doing something. But if you really looked at it as like, am I moving my business forward? And if that was the only thing that I did today, would I feel successful? And it should be, because if you got on the phones and talked to enough people for 3 hours, who cares what the other 5 hours were? If you're dealing with fires, if you're dealing with other stuff, like, that doesn't matter as long as you did the 3 hours in lead gen, that you were touching your database, reaching out to them, delivering them value, and asking them if they have business or if they know somebody that you can help. So this is all out of order for me. I'm sorry, guys. Hold on. Anyways, yeah, so just don't focus on the 3 hours. Focus on the 3 hours and getting it done. The reason being is because in a shift, we invest our times differently. So in addition to looking for those who need to buy or sell, we must think about how we serve our clients. And this is the switch that we saw for those that were in it for the last couple of years. In a seller's market, we don't have to spend a time generating leads because they were just coming. The rest of it came from servicing leads. All those phone calls and all those buyers that were trying to get into houses is what we were servicing. Now our bulk of time has to be into generating leads and servicing leads. But we're not even in this. We're not in this at all. Like, we're still here. There's less inventory. We're still dropping every day. We're still in a seller's market. So I hate to even think that we're still talking this far over because we're still regularly in this. But the reality is we still have to generate leads no matter what. So that's making sure that your guys' time blocks are in point and that we have them on the calendar to be able to do. Make sure I cover all that. Did anyone have any questions on that? Seller's market versus buyer's market? Does anyone feel like it's a buyer's market right now? No, not really.
I think it's relatively balanced right now.
Yeah.
I mean, a whole lot more balanced than it has been.
I agree with that. More balance for sure.
I feel like some houses are seller's market, some are buyer's market.
Yes, it's interesting, especially in our demographics. Like, there are some homes that are hitting the market, multiple offers in the first day, and then there's other ones. We literally have one right now in the same neighborhood, pretty much the same house. It's got 1 bedroom less, and it's sitting for longer than the other one is. No rhyme or reason why. Maybe a steep driveway. Was that the reason why? Maybe. So the main thing is, though, that the thing that should always exist is your lead generation time. I have to give a shout out to Christian. He's going on a honeymoon in a couple of weeks, like for 2 weeks to Europe. He got married last year. He'll tell us after that. Yay! But he has been crushing his time blocks and making sure that he is setting his month up so he can actually enjoy his vacation. How many of us have taken time off and we knew that we were behind the ball and that we were going to fall behind farther on our goals because we were taking time and foot off the gas? It happens. So the main thing is, can we make our time blocking so solid that we can enjoy our time off because we know that we have enough deals in the pipeline that we're not going to be hurting when we get back or behind? So who has a time block right now or a schedule that they follow? Yeah, do you want to share it with us?
Blocks of time and you're focused on certain lead sources and.
Do you do it every day, or is your more like a day you do one thing, or is it, how does your schedule work?
I think, yeah, so there are some days that it changes, but the point though is to have it pre-planned out the day before. So I know what I'm doing. I'm not guessing when I come into it.
Yes.
Except for that morning, some things happen during the night, you have to handle, but for the most part, just having a game plan. But yeah, there is some similarity between each day and then some of it does change.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. The main thing out of that, pre-plan before the next day. If you guys can change one thing about it, it would be adding that in at the end of the day before you jump in your car and head home for it and like go tuck yourself into sleep, because that's often what I do is I go to bed. Plan your next day. If you can plan your next day and have an idea of what that one thing or the 3 things that you need to get done would be on the calendar and ready to go, if you got those 3 things done, even if the whole rest of your day fell to shit, that would still be worth it. So that's the thing, is like having a schedule and regularly planning it out. And so do you plan it every night, or do you have a weekly schedule too?
Yeah, I have it's the whole week is planned out, but then I'll shift it and I'll mold it based on what the needs are for the team, or, if certain circling needs, then I'll put in specifics, but there are some basic structures that I'll utilize. And
I love that. So when do you plan?
Well, end of the day.
End of the day.
You have an end of the day admin. You always gotta, how the day go, check, whatever. And then you prep the next day and make sure it's all ready to go. So the last half hour of the day is devoted for that.
So do you think you would do that if you didn't have accountability to track it?
Well, time blocking was a result of this, like training, and so I think, when you meet with your team, you train, you have support with your team. So they're kind of accountability right there.
Absolutely.
And then it crosses over but accountability definitely helps.
Well, and the reason I asked that was because you said you tracked your numbers. And so I assume that at the end of the day, it's kind of like a trigger for you where you're like, I'm tracking my numbers. And then you're like, what am I doing tomorrow? Where am I going?
Right.
Do we track our numbers? What do you guys do at the end of the day?
Send our numbers into the group.
And what's on the very last of our text message that we added a little while ago?
Wins for the day.
And then
what our goal is for the next day.
And what our goal is for the next day. So we track our numbers, and it's basically our contacts, our nurtures, our appointments, and then it's the wins, because at the end of the day, if this isn't fun for you, I don't know why you're here. So hopefully you had some fun in it. And then we also plan kind of where we're hitting next. It helps us, one, decide if we need to find more leads. And then also it allows us to say, okay, well, where am I supposed to go today? When I jump into a database and I'm like, I'm not sure where to hit, where you could start. So where do you guys report your numbers? Okay. Is it possible that we could find an accountability partner for you, either at the Market Center? I know this great lady named Shanna that would hold you guys accountable. But that's one of the things, like come up with ways to trigger yourself to remember to plan. So I know, like Tyler, I gave him a hard time and I'm like, before you leave, can you send this in? Like, because I'm like, if you have a motion that you're going to do no matter what when you're walking away from your day, if it's walking to your car, can you pause before you walk to your car and fill out your schedule that you need to hit tomorrow? I need to follow up with that lead that didn't answer me. I need to make sure I get the flyers printed so I can door knock with value. I need to make sure that I do this to have a successful day tomorrow, because then when you wake up the next day and you forget what you were supposed to do and you have the reminder of, oh, here's the flyers I need to follow up with, it's easier for you to then follow through with your plans. So the time blocking is super important, and it's important that we plan it regularly and consistently, which is hard. The consistent part's the hardest part. So how can we start? Do you guys like paper planners? Are we paper, digital? What kind of people are we?
Digital.
Digital. Wow, interesting. Anyone else? What are you? Both?
Yeah.
Okay. Boys?
Digital.
Destiny? Paper?
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both?
Yeah.
What are you, sir?
Definitely digital.
Digital? How good is your time blocking?
You asking me?
Yeah.
Not good at all.
Yeah. So can we all take a minute right now and look at our schedules for this week? I wish I could show you guys mine. I'm gonna figure out how to show this really quick. So on your calendars, digital or not, what does it look like? I'm actually gonna show you guys mine. Okay, so I have Midwest lead gen on my top half and then lead gen on the end. Yeah, nice. That's pretty good.
It's pretty empty this week.
Oh, is it?
I don't-
What you got?
I guess I do sort of half, because I have like my list of what I'm calling.
Okay,
That's where I keep track.
I don't have mine on.
I don't have mine.
okay.
It's on my laptop.
No,
Next hand.
empty, okay.
Today's cool.
Today is cool. You got stuff going on today. All right. So if you guys know, yours is full. Dang. Okay. So is red training? No.
Red is OKW.
Okay.
And this color is appointments.
Love that.
And then I also want to work on my social media, but sometimes things will pop up, so
Mhm.
I just have this time for like.
Just as a reminder.
Yeah, and then the green is.
Good. You got one?
I need to talk
What?
calendar.
We could open all colors like that.
That's
You don't know?
mine's all like blue.
Oh, what is straight?
Okay. Do you have a calendar, sir?
I have a calendar, I don't have time blocked. Well,
No
I
time blocked?
got a showing set up on Friday,
Okay.
but, so that's blocked, but.
So.
No, I'm not great.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, that's why we're here. The reason I want to bring it up is because lead gen really needs to be blocked on that calendar. So, and I know I would recommend doing it in the morning because if you move it in the morning, you can always move it to the later in the day if it has to happen, if you have an oil change, things like that. But I would recommend starting at 8 a.m. knowing that you're going to get into it and do it for a minimum of 2 hours, like a minimum. You know that the top producers are doing 3. So if you want to be a millionaire, I'd recommend doing 3. But if you're not going to be able to do that, do at least the 2 hours from 8 to 10. But I would recommend going ahead and starting to write it down, but you need to figure out what tool you're going to use that you're going to revisit. So a lot of you guys have your phones on you consistently. Can you guys start plugging it in?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. So are you lead generating for 3 or more hours a day right now? Anyone in the room?
Not quite.
Okay.
Can do better at that.
Tyler, you're nodding your head? Yeah, okay. What is holding you back from lead generating consistently every day?
Just focusing on it,
Focusing on it?
being purposeful.
Okay. What would be the reason that you guys might not lead generate every day?
Sometimes it's like, just getting started is the hardest part, but once you get started, it's not bad.
Absolutely. Shannon has dial days right now at the Market Center. So I would recommend going to that because that is like being around a community will help you get motivated to go. But I would say you also have to look internally and say, okay, is my schedule allowing me to lead generate for 3 hours a day? Right now it's not on the calendar. So it's hard to say I have to do it for 3 hours every single day. It's us usually, right? We're the reason, if anyone read The Mountain Is You, we're the reason we're standing in our own way for not lead generating 3 hours every day. So what can we do differently? It doesn't mean that you have to change anything in the past. Change going forward. Can you do something different tomorrow that would then affect your business? Because if you did it for 90 days, how much further along would your business be? So does anyone have any other ways that they've won that they're like, this is how I know to get motivated every single day and I start lead generating? I know, okay, so these were all ISAs, right? We lead generate regularly. What is the way that you guys know that you have to show up and lead generate? Or what do you do differently in the morning on the days that you show up and lead generate at a higher level?
I'd say I didn't even have it on my calendar as blocking it off because like for me, it's no need, like, that's what I'm here to do. Like that is my 20%. So I can't do anything else besides lead generate from 9 to 12. Like every day it's a constant thing. Like I can't worry about doing administrative tasks. Like again, like she mentioned earlier, we're doing a system change. Like I don't worry about doing any of that stuff that requires like me tinkering on a computer, doing emails, doing anything like that. Like from 9 to 12 every single day, it's nurturing that pillow, like touching every day, working the database, calling people, text people. Like it's all about producing leads and setting appointments. And so I don't even have it on my calendar just because I know if I'm not calling people in the morning, like I'm doing something wrong. So I don't even allow myself to do that until the afternoon. In my days where I don't show up and I don't have productive days, it's when something throws me off. Like whenever we have a longer morning meeting or we have a guest come in and talk, or if I get into my emails and I see that I'm starting to clean up 20 emails or whatever that is. It's stuff that takes away from my 20% in the mornings are the days that lead to the rest of my days not being very good. Because then the second half of my day, I'm I'm not wanting to be on the phones because I was supposed to do that in the morning. So I just gotten in a routine of, if every single day it's on my, I don't even need to put it on my calendar. If every single day I do what I'm supposed to in the morning, I feel good about it because I know I did what I was supposed to. And then, like you said, I get to do whatever I want because I know that I did what I was supposed to in the morning.
Right, so if you have 2 appointments on the calendar from today's work, does anyone get mad at you that you didn't clean up 10 leads in the database or anything like that? Right, like the point is to have business on the books. That's the whole point of lead generation. So at the end of the day, the goal is for us to get people to meet with us and talk about real estate and those plans. But if we don't pick up the phone, they're not going to call you to say, hey, I want to sell my house at the end of the day. Like there are, okay, I'll take that back. There are some people that do that, but those are the few and far between. And that should just be icing on the cake. That is not the business that you really want to be going after, because those are also the deals that you didn't put any blood, sweat, and tears into. And guess what? Those are the easiest ones to lose because somebody else could be pushing harder on another side. And I regularly use the line, how did your agent find you? Oh, you found them? Well, I'm going to be considerably more proactive about your business than they are going to be. So know that you're up against people like me on the phone. So you need to be able to say, hey, I'm here willing to work for your business, and I'm going to show up with the tenacity and the delivery of being able to do that for you. So don't stand in your own way. That's the main thing. At the end of the day, that's it. Okay. So build confidence with basics. Christian, what was your really good line earlier today when we're not wanting to call? Call reluctant or?
Oh yeah, are you?
Yeah, so
I have so many great.
What was the quote you said earlier?
Are you call reluctant or value deficient?
Yes. So I know that you mentioned that it's hard to get started sometimes, right? Yeah. Do you feel that it's hard to get started because you don't know where to go, or do you feel like it's because you don't know what to deliver, or maybe?
I like to read things.
Okay.
You know, so I don't really practice my script nearly as much as I should. Mm-hmm. But I feel like that's the main reason. I'm like, oh, I should change it up. You know, what's it called? Like, I just try to make it perfect, even though I shouldn't be doing that. I should just do the activity.
Yeah, the activity leads to the result, right? And at the end of the day, it doesn't need to be perfect all the time. In here, it says perfect practice makes it perfect. No, it doesn't. Perfect practice makes perfect. That's the only way that you can do it. You have to do it every day to get really good at the skill. And it's okay to not be perfect at it. So you just have to practice conversations. That's the great thing about having a community like Keller Williams. I mean, we can all role play all day long, but the main thing we're listening, which are you guys all a part of the Recon replay or role play that's in the morning at 8:30 that Keller Williams hosts? If not, I'll find out if the Market Center can share it, but it is a fantastic way to listen to a lot of agents role play different scripts, whether it's seller, listing, like transaction side, all the different things that they need to say. And you can tell by the tone of people that practice their craft daily that they are going to deliver their message more. It's easier to believe in confidence than if you say something so beautiful. If you don't have the tone to back it up, people are going to turn you away. They're not going to be interested. So it's practicing it so that your tone can deliver the result that you're looking for. The next part of it is like, so you have to practice, that's the role play. Knowing your market, be a student of it. Know which ones are pending, know which ones are active that you're going to door knock, because that's the market knowledge that they want you to deliver. I don't really know what respect your expertise means. What do you guys think that means? You guys know what that means? I don't know what that means. I guess respect our practice. I don't know. So, but I did think that this stat was interesting. 87% of buyers and 90% of sellers used an agent in 2021, according to the National Association of Realtors. And it actually said that they were, in the survey that they sent them, that they needed the expertise of an agent. So even in a market where it seemed like everything was selling no matter what, like you didn't have to do anything for it, the majority of people were still requesting an agent, and it was because they had to navigate conversations that are on a contract. You guys are familiar with the contract, right? So like we are going over it right now. It's like 9 pages of like tiny print, and we look at it every single day. We're the professional in that. That means that somebody who's not into this role would not understand all the like jargon in it, and they need somebody like you to be able to deliver it well and be confident in it. So practice your conversations. Does anyone have any ahas of like where they've had wins in that, or how they need to have it now? Like if you don't have it right now, what can we do to help you find it?
Tyler mentioned earlier, but I mean, higher ups, the people who've been in the industry for a long time are doing those recon role plays at 8:30. So if the best of the best are doing it and they're practicing their scripts every single day at 8:30, when they've heard every script and they've been in every market shift, like if they're doing it every single day and I've only been in it for 2 years, why am I not practicing every day? So
100%. Yes, absolutely. The only way that you can get better is if you do it every single day, consistently. When I started in 2016, I would drive in on my drive to work and I would practice my expired script because it was really uncomfortable to me and I was really awkward and I felt like I was bothering these people. And now, I mean, I can do it in my sleep. Most people around me hear it all the time because it's so consistent. Like, and the way that it's consistent, it always gets me to the end goal that I'm looking for. So part of this is knowing what your end goal is. Is your end goal to actually get an appointment? Is your end goal to find out a little bit more information about a house? Is your end goal to get contact information? What is your end goal of the call? And know that before you get on it, because if you don't know what message you're trying to deliver, it gets harder to actually get something out of it. So if the end goal, if I'm calling expireds, my goal is to get an appointment, right? I want to actually get into that house. But sometimes if you're nurturing your database, you're literally just checking in with people and that is a win. That is just, hey, I just wanted to make sure this is still your phone number. How's everything going? What are you up to nowadays? Are you still working? Oh, you're not working. How's retirement? Like whatever you're going to talk to them about, just make sure that you're checking in. That's still a win. It doesn't always have to be an appointment. The main thing is knowing how to find those wins every single day. But yeah, role play. I'll find out about the recon role play. If not though, I mean, I know these four would love to role play with you guys every day, but also I'm always available. So, Derek, would you read this for me?
No matter what the condition of the market, there will always be more than enough sales for you to personally reach your goals.
Mm-hmm. Does everyone believe that?
yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe it. I've actually started lead generating outside of our market because I wanted more. And guess what? There's tons of lead gen everywhere in the world. So that's the great thing about it. If you are open to finding the business is out there. You just have to keep looking for it. So any ahas? Kind of talked around that one a little bit. Anyone have anything to add? Anyone? No? Okay. So now we're going to get right. So this is all about what we do now. Woo! Okay, so we're going to accelerate our lead generation. The main thing about this, which Christian, when we were talking about this, we were talking about it a little bit earlier, is lead generation exists in every single market, right? The only thing that really changed was our math. How many people do we actually have to contact to get to a closing? So is everyone super familiar with how many people they want to contact in a day or have goals around it? Yes. Ish.
Yeah.
Yes. Contact goals, kind of. How many contacts do you guys want to reach in a day? Let's just say like 1 to 10. Raise your hand. 1 to 20, 10 to 20. Okay. 20 to 40. Okay. 40 to 60. Okay. Nice. I feel like you're going to be a millionaire one day. That's awesome.
Well, it's easier said than done. So
yes, yes, absolutely.
That's the goal.
So the thing about that is that we just have to know what numbers we need to follow through. So at the end of the day, you know your annual goal, right? Like you know how much you want to make, or most people should. Do you know your annual goal?
I just want to be consistent.
You want to be consistent?
That's my main goal. It's not, I don't have like an end goal, like financially wise. I just want to be consistent on a daily basis.
I love that. So I look at real estate as I am not in this for a year. I'm not in it for 20 years. I am looking at this as this is my legacy, that I will have an entire database of the entire nation's homeowners, because it's like, that's just it. It's consistency. Doesn't mean that I'm going to sell all the houses. I just want to know where they live and if they would want to talk to me about it. That's a goal, right? Like I don't care about like an annual number. So that's great. Consistency. What does that look like each day?
I'm not really quite sure. I still plan everything out because.
That's okay. Well, and it starts with one action, right? Like just one thing. And so can we put on a time block for you to do consistently? Try it for 21 days.
Yeah.
Lead generating. When can you do it?
In the mornings.
What time?
Oh.
Consistently every day.
Consistently. So we go door knocking usually in the afternoon.
Okay.
So should I add, I don't know, say, make it more difficult than it is.
No, make it as easy as possible.
Just 9 till 11, just a couple hours.
Let's do 9 to 10.
9 to 10, okay.
9 to 10, right?
Yes.
So just do 1 hour every day for the next 3 weeks and see where you're at. Now we're gonna find out who we're gonna call, right? So the main thing is just that one action can change your business if you do it consistently. Now, hopefully you'll want to continue doing it.
Yeah.
But the main thing is finding ways to protect yourself so that you don't slip back, right? Because it's easy to say right now in this class, like, yeah, I'll do that, whatever. I'll go do it right now. But the main thing is, okay, so tomorrow when I'm going to show up and I don't have Ashton yelling at me, what am I going to do? And it's, okay, I'm going to make sure that I have a phone alarm that says at 9 o'clock, start dialing. And then I'm going to have a list, because after I leave here, I'm going to have a list of all these great ideas. And then I'm going to call through that list. And each day I'm going to add to it. Who else can I call? Can I call any of the door knocking people that I've reached out to? Can I call anyone from my family and friends and just say hi? And then also talk to them about like, hey, I'm trying to figure out who else I can call and who might need questions about the real estate answered. All those different things. So the main thing is like finding one small action by the end of the day that you guys can all add to do more in lead generating. So we know we're going to have to do more time. We're going to have more conversations, all of those things. But the main thing is like, we want to find the motivated leads, and it does cost time or money and you don't have to waste either of them. The main thing is understanding who's actually going to move in this market. So I like to have these little tips, and maybe you guys have these questions as well. How do you define if somebody's motivated? If you're on the phone with them and they are just calling, asking about a house, like, hey, I drove by this house, just curious about pricing. Where could you dig into motivation on that?
The reasoning for wanting to buy, or how long they've been looking, kind of.
Love that. Why are you looking at the house? Is it for you? Is it for someone else? And then, yeah, what do you like about it? What other questions could you ask?
I mean, have they talked to the lender? Because I mean, if they've at least done that, that means like, hey, they are planning on potentially doing something.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great one. Like once you get deeper into the conversation, have they actually done any work to find out if they can buy this house? Where do they live right now? Right? Like, do you currently own a house, or are you renting a house? That would fill in some gaps for me, right? If they're renting a home, this might be a first home purchase. If they are actually ones that own a home, why? Why would you move from your home right now? Great. What do we got now? 2 sales, right? Selling a list. Yay. Ooh, so exciting. So the main thing is like define questions that will get to motivation faster. Do you guys have any questions that you use regularly to define if they're motivated or not?
What about this house? Like, how'd you call our sign?
Yeah. Why?
So just like, what did you like about this house?
Mm-hmm. Was it the location?
Yeah,
was it the
help us
actual
kind of
home?
find if say they do want to go see it, we can find more houses like it in the area.
Love it. So you're setting up a second call or more opportunities within it. I love that. So just know that when you're talking to people, they can obviously lead you on for a really long time. We all know that. Mm-hmm. I like to make sure that I have tougher conversations sooner versus being strung out for like 8 months along. And then I'm like, wow, you were really never interested in moving. So I would have harder conversations up front and ask good questions. The good questions would be, why are you looking to move? What has you looking at the market right now? What about this would do for your family if you don't move? You know, are you in a house that's a little bit too small? Is this the first time home purchase? Those things, the reason that they're willing to look at moving is really important, right? Why are you willing to pack up all your stuff and put it into a truck and move it somewhere else? It's a lot of work. So remember, like, we're trying to figure out why they're moving. And then we can find out where they're at. These slides are a little bit off. So let's talk about top grading our lead sources. Where did your last closing come from? Do you remember?
FSBO.
FSBO? Okay. Where did your last closing come from? Do you know which one it was?
Yeah, which one?
she has 5 on the books for May. She's crushing it. She's got 7 contracts this month.
7 on the books.
7 on the books for May?
Under contract?
That's awesome. That's super impressive. Do you remember any of the sources that you were on of what they were from?
Sign call.
Okay. So I'm just going to fill that in. Sign call, we have to have a listing, right? And you have to be the phone number on it. or be lucky enough that like the Keller Williams forwards you the call, which happens sometimes. Tyler, do you remember where your last closing came from?
Past client referral.
Good, okay. Do you remember where your last closing was from?
Open house,
Open house? Was it a buyer or a seller?
a buyer that I picked up at the open house.
Nice.
They didn't buy the house that I did the open on.
That's awesome. Hunter, do you remember your last one?
I think it was an old Alex Circle prospect.
Nice, circle prospecting. Christian?
I don't remember lead source, they were like out of state, Relo from Phoenix.
Yep, going back.
I'm back.
Yep, so that's a referral site that sends it to us. Derek, do you remember your last closing?
Course by owner.
Okay.
Sphere.
Sphere?
Sphere.
Sphere. So we need to add some other ones, right? But Sphere is the best one because it's the warmest lead. And so I don't ever want to dismiss that. If we can just add to your funnel, I would say, do you guys feel like you've mastered your Sphere and getting business from them of like how to reach out to them? Okay, so really we want to add more, right? Main thing. Have you guys had an open house closing yet?
Like right away, like.
Or just any closings from an open house lead? Okay, so I love open house leads just because they're business that like you almost never would have uncovered, right? Like sometimes these people are not online, they're not calling anywhere, and they just showed up to this house and you're like, wow, okay, I can love on you and like you can become a closing. So that's a great one. So we've said a lot of them though. What are your guys' top 8 Sphere or top 8 sources? Where's our marker? Yeah. What is this? Who wrote this? Let's see. Shanna, that makes sense. What's in Shanna's brain? So Christian, I know your number 1 is probably FSBOs.
Yeah.
We're gonna put Sphere. Where did yours come from? Yours is FSBO too.
FSBO, yeah, but I say Sphere is pretty hot for us too.
Pretty, okay. Anyone else have any other top ones? Inspired, okay. What else?
Nurturing old leads.
Past client referrals.
Okay, so old leads, let's talk about like cold database and stuff like that.
Like old expireds. Yeah, so I guess cold leads, kind of reviving them.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if this is a thing that you guys are familiar with, but I would look up The Golden Handoff. It's a book about retiring real estate agents. And if you are new to the business and you do not have a giant database to jump into, I would start talking to these more senior agents and talk to them about what they're going to do with their leads when they decide that they don't want to show houses anymore. It doesn't necessarily need to be a conversation that they're going to send you all the business, but can you find a partnership within it and then a referral base that then you can help service their leads? You know that they don't want to run and gun and show houses anymore. And can you work alongside them to get them to closing? The Golden Handoff though, like basically lines out how you should do the referral agreement and how you could actually take over their databases. So if you're just getting started, it's a fantastic place to look at it. Just, I mean, you can profile our agents in our office and then figure out who you should go after. So, or the other, let's actually go other market centers. Go to Murney, like find all the older agents at Murney and talk to them about what they're going to do with their business afterwards. Because I promise Murney is not setting them up for as much success as we are. So find other ways that you guys can find databases if you don't have a giant Sphere network that is feeding you guys regularly. Referrals are a great one. Who's a part of the KW internal Facebook referral group? It's like the longest name. Is anyone? You guys are. I would recommend getting into it. One, because if you guys have clients that are moving out of the area, you guys can send business that way and connect with really great agents. Also, if they have anyone servicing Springfield, if you're the first one on it, it's all about speed to lead on that group too. So if you get in there and you guys add into it and they have somebody moving in or looking to sell, they want to talk to hungry young agents. So get in there. But referrals from your past clients, how can we make sure that we get those? What are some ways that we can secure those a little bit better?
Talking with your past clients regularly.
Could we call them every day from 8 to 9? What? So if you don't have access to FSBOs and expireds, you could just call your past people and you could just say, what?
check in on them and see if they know of anyone that has any real estate plans.
Right. So especially probably right after they close, right? They're just so excited to talk about moving. That's awesome. Also, we're in wealth building, right? We're in real estate. It doesn't always have to be about their family members. Talk to them about their next purchase. Can they buy an investment property? Can they be a partial owner of an investment property? There's tons of LLC groups that can go in on houses and help you buy your first rental. It doesn't have to be the traditional way anymore. So think about it as that too. That can be a huge value add. Can they get into investment that way? So in the book, which if you guys have the electronic copy, they actually have you rate your sources. And so when you get out of here, if you have time, I would go ahead and look at your last closings and figure out where they're at. And then look at where, if they're mostly Sphere, which is great, what would be the next source that you would feel passionate about going to? If it's door knocking, that's great. Let's build a plan around it. But I would go ahead and rate them. And the ones that are spending time, if you have not gotten a lead from door knocking and you've invested 40 or plus hours in it, can we look at something else? Can we add something else into it? The reason I love circle prospecting is because it's door knocking, but faster. And I love circle prospecting because it's just chatting with people about houses and things. The thing about it though is have a message. It's the same reason that when you're door knocking, you have to have a message. Call around pendings, call around actives, or call around a buyer need. Guess what I did in the KW internal group? There was I don't know, 3 buyer needs. You guys, whoever is promoting the buyer needs is awesome. I found 2 leads that can connect them with the buyer needs just in our Keller Williams office. Doesn't always have to be right next to you. It can be somebody else in the area. So make sure you guys are paying attention to those things, because then you can circle prospect to find a listing and you already have a buyer for it. Doesn't always have to be your buyer. So there's some ways to get it in. What other ways can you guys add in more lead sources? Or do you guys have questions around these?
I was gonna say, I had a really good month, like February and March, I had really good months off of just old leads that we never touched from from Brevity, but so just like old paid for ads that we got for people and they just never been touched, so.
Yeah. So what's the life of a lead normally? Do you guys know an average time before, like if it went on a site today on Facebook, when should it actually close by? The average time?
90 days.
90 days?
Oh, 6 months.
You mean close like the sale closes, or
yeah,
you convert?
When they're actually going to be ready to close?
Yeah.
6 months? Okay. Christian, you can answer.
Maybe it's circle prospect. Is it 18?
It's 18 months. So an internet lead is about an 18 months before it actually closes. So that's an average, meaning as in when people start looking, and think about it, like if you own your home right now, what are you going to start doing before you really decide to list your house? You're going to be researching other properties that would fit what you're looking for. So it makes sense that they take that long to nurture and everything. And so talk to people in the market center, especially if you guys don't have access to databases, and see who you could reach out to and say, hey, do you have any cold leads I can go through? Can I do them for a referral for you? Can I call them? If you're not calling them, let me call them. You know, is there opportunity for us to win together in your database? Because if you're not going through them, let me, you know, so there's huge opportunities in that in the cold database. But additional to that, that's where you guys want to add in networking and events and find other ways to find people. Because if you find contact information, that can always lead to sales. For sale by owners, the data's out there. Does anyone need help finding this phone number or these phone numbers or knowing where to get them? Zillow, Craigslist, Facebook. Destiny is the queen of Facebook messaging. She does a great job with it. But the thing is, like, they're raising their hands. What can you do to provide value that doesn't sound like, hey, I'm coming at you only for your listing?
Ask them if they need help fixing anything around their house. Say you have no vendors.
That's great.
Just get them in contact with somebody.
So what would be a good question about that? Are you worried about anything coming up on your inspection report? Be a good way to lead in, right? We always want to lead in with questions, right? We don't want to just say like, hey, your house is trash, go get it fixed. Like we want to ask them things about it, and then how can we provide value? So that's a great way to enter in. Hey, we know some really great people. We just had a huge hailstorm. You're in kind of one of the affected areas. Do you have a good roofer? If not, could I send you one? You know, I've got some great people that I could connect you with. Just ask them about their house. Their house is publicly online. Ask them why are you selling? Like, your house is great. Why would you ever want to move? Why would you want to pack up and get out of there? And those will lead to better questions that you can keep asking them, but they're truly motivated. These are ones that are raising their hands. Your sphere, it's hard to continue asking them, right? Like, are you moving? Like, when are you moving? Like, do you know anyone moving? That's a hard question to consider. Keep going. What value can you deliver to them so you can keep in touch?
Yeah, broker metrics that come out all the time. So I think it's a really easy way to just pass it along. I mean, if you're doing it via phone, I mean, just pick out 1 or 2 stats that you really like. Whether it be like now we're starting to see more houses go pending, you know, 1 day or less than we used to. So, I mean, hey, like the spring market's picking up, houses are selling quicker. On the other side, I mean, pick out whatever message it is you want to say. I mean, if you're talking to someone who's a potential buyer, say, I mean, some houses are going pretty quick. However, some houses we're also able to negotiate, you know, concessions, and we're able to, just because you're seeing a house listed at a certain price, I mean, it's actually going to sell at that. So just pick out whatever message you want to say from those broker metrics. Gives you a really good message, gives you a good value whenever you reach out to your sphere.
Are we in an appreciating market right now?
Yes.
Have we stopped being in an appreciating market at the beginning of the year anytime? No, we have continued to be in an appreciating market. And it is really hard for us to see that we're not going to be in an appreciating market because of the growth in our economy in Springfield. It's really difficult to imagine us going backwards at all. And so that is a good thing to tell them. Like, and it's a good reason to buy, right? Is it cheaper to buy now or is it cheaper to buy next year? No. If we're appreciating?
No.
100%, right? So that's one of the messages that you want to continue to deliver to them. To get you back on that.
I think everywhere you go, you can talk to somebody and get spheres. That can come from anywhere, just being out talking to people.
Yes. So we can give these 3 categories of value. So in that, what you just mentioned was like the information. So the data, like the market stats. The access would be kind of more along the lines of what events that we have available. 417 events is one that I regularly send out, especially for like relocation buyers. I'll send them out their guides of good restaurants, different events that are going on in the community. I'm trying to think, is there anything going on this month that you guys are going to in town? Hunter, come on, trivia every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday.
I mean, and if you run events, obviously that's a great thing to be able to offer them. Keller Williams runs events, you know, when we have the trucks out here with the food and all the good stuff. And then service, that's the handyman. Do you have something available? These are the areas of value. So we were chatting a little bit at the beginning before we started about an 8x8. So if you had a brand new piece of contact information, there's a great book called Ninja Selling. If you want to check it out, it's fantastic. But he says that you need to deliver 8 weeks of value before you can ask for business, which is a lot, right? Like that's a ton of value add before you can say, hey, by the way, do you know anyone looking to move, invest, or sell real estate? So that being said, can you break down these categories and have consistent value adds that throughout the year you can consistently deliver 8 weeks of messaging to people that are brand new in your database? And it can be repeatable. It could literally just be, hey, the DMV on Battlefield is better than the DMV on Glenstone. So if you guys are going to get your tags renewed, go to that one. That's the information that you can provide for them consistently that isn't necessarily always about real estate. So does anyone have any other ideas? Any good value adds? One of the ones that I was talking about, who knows when Earth Day is? You get a piece of candy if you know.
The 22nd.
You can have candy. There's an agent in Phoenix that I work with, and she is doing an electronic recycle and basically touching her entire database around Earth Day. Well, she's not, but she should be. She's doing this event. And I'm like, wow, that would be such a great promotion on Earth Day to say, hey, I'm running this recycling event and I would love for you to be able to come by. She's partnering it with a vendor. It's really just a value add to her database. What can you do that's easy? You can literally just go to businesses and ask them like, hey, do you have anyone working with you on this? Can I share it to my database? You guys are already doing this event. Can I also promote it for you and get more people there? Do you guys have anything like that you do?
You know, I think that's an area where we can continue to grow is do things like that. Yeah.
And it's hard, right? Like, where do you put this in the value of things? I'm always going to say lead gen is the most important part, right? We have to actually call. But when you're call reluctant because you don't have something like this to add into their world, we kind of have to slow down and say, what can we add to you? What can I do for you? Where do I need to research or know a little bit more about my community that I can then provide value for you? Sorry guys, we're going a little bit over.
That's good stuff.
So there's a lot of things obviously to do about lead generation. And as the market turns, the main thing is to make sure that we just keep doing it consistently. So who's going to lead generate tomorrow? What time are we all lead generating?
10 to 12.
10 to 12? Destiny, what time are we going to lead generate?
8 to 4.
11. What time are we going to be lead generating? 8 a.m.? 9 a.m.?
Sure.
What time do you have available to lead generate tomorrow?
I can do it in the morning.
You can? What time do you have till?
I don't have anything on my calendar as of right now for tomorrow.
Awesome. Well, if you want to come into our office, you guys are always more than welcome. Tyler, what time are you going to be in?
8 a.m.
Yep. And what time are you going to lead generate?
8 to 5.
Okay. Till it gets done, right? Ring?
7:59 to whenever it's done. Yeah.
Good work, Christian.
8 4.
What time are you guys going to be in?
9 to 10.
9 to 10. Good. You remembered.
9 to 10.
Yep.
4 to 6 or 7.
Okay, perfect. So are you door knocking? Okay. So door knocking should count. Just make sure that you guys are tracking it. The main thing is like everything that you do, make sure you know the numbers behind it, because then you can say, why am I having a bad month right now? And then look back at your numbers from the month before and say, oh, that's why I'm having a bad month right now. I didn't do anything last month, or what I did was not in the right areas. The main thing is finding the motivated, having information to deliver to them, and then having a way to track it. And then you can say, okay, we've been door knocking for, have you guys been doing it for this month? Because it's not been super nice, right?
Around a month, right?
Yeah.
About a month. So I would count how many doors that you're having. And if you're not getting contact information, then let's change the strategy, right? Like, can we deliver something so that they want to give you their information back? Or can we try a different avenue? Is there something else we can do? If we're trying to farm something, which means like getting more listings, we probably want to have an incentive for them to choose you guys, right? So what are we going to do extra for the neighborhood? Could you guys organize a trash cleanup? Could you guys do recycling for them? What could you do to add value into their neighborhood that then they would think, oh, those guys are out here all the time cleaning up our area, like making sure that we know what's going on in the market and updating on us. I 100% understand who they are, and at least I remember them. Then you guys can continue to convert them into your business. Well, yeah, any other questions or takeaways? Anything I can help you guys with?
Did you talk about, oh yeah, unless you got more stuff to go to.
No, that was it, really. Go ahead.
Did you comment a little on inbound versus outbound?
Yeah.
And just how this market, if that should shift, you know, I know it's more generation focused and follow-up focused.
Mm-hmm.
So, but within generation category, outbound versus inbound.
So I think, okay, so how much time you would spend on inbound versus outbound?
Sure, yeah, or resources, yeah,
resources?
Which time is one of, but financial as well.
So I think inbound is obviously something that you have to handle carefully, because that lead is probably pretty interested in talking to you. And I would have great questions to ask them and get to them pretty quickly. But I still think that you controlling your business, which would be more outbound focused in my world, is the best way to make sure that you consistently have business. So if we all know we're lead generating tomorrow morning, inbound will happen when it happens, right? They're going to click on a site. They're going to call you when they see your sign. Those things are going to happen. You have to be able to move with that business, but outbound has to be the consistent piece. So that has to be your 2 hours every day that you're doing. And I think the reason that listings are so important is because of the sign calls, right? So if your business doesn't have a lot of listings, it's going to suffer because you won't have the inbound business coming in naturally.
Right.
Does that help at all? What do you think about it?
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree. Yeah, and then, you know, you have resources that you use to pay for leads, you know, and so you're buying leads essentially. So, you know, how much of your resources should go toward that or not? Yeah.
So on the inbound side, if I were personally, my perception of it is outbound, you can control a lot better and you can get a lot more for your buck, basically. If you buy a list of data for sale by owners, land voice, expireds, things like that. If you're buying that data, you can control how much you work it, versus where if you're inbound and you're getting those leads, I have a harder time looking at a 2% conversion of 100 leads that you're paying for that aren't exactly happy, that they're not exactly like interested in moving forward. They're not something that's like super positive. So for me, I'd rather work through the harder stuff that I can control and how much I reach out to. Not everyone is like me though. What would you guys think? Because I would think Do you guys prefer the inbound leads?
I think the conversion rate's a lot higher on inbound leads, but that's obviously like you are paying for it, so it should be higher. So I feel like the trade-off is almost equal. I guess it depends on where you're putting your money, but
Yeah.
I think it's more rewarding to get the outbound leads than it is to get the inbound ones.
So the ones that you work for, the outbound ones.
And they're more, I feel like outbound are more motivated than inbound are. Because I feel like they're like with buyers, at least, they're more willy-nilly just kind of looking at houses. You paid for their information, you call them. They're probably, oh yeah, we'll set an appointment. They may not meet though. They may decide not to.
Also inbound slutty, like again, if they're looking at houses online, if they're calling signs, they're calling a lot of people. And so what makes me different? I mean, they're not
attached to your loyalty.
Absolutely not. They're not loyal at all. So, but if I'm circle prospecting, if I get a really good lead, I just happen to 1%, 1 out of 100 phone calls, I can get someone who's actually interested. How many people are circle prospecting that person? I probably, unless they already know someone, like I probably won that business and I'm going to nurture them until they're ready. It might take 18 months, but I'm not planning on being in the industry for a year. So I'll see them in 18 months when they're ready. And over, the course of doing that for lead generation for 18 months, now it's become a pipeline. And now it's like, I don't have to worry about talking to 40 people a day anymore because I've got the pipeline of when I used to talk to 40 people a day. And now it just turns over and I just have to worry about refilling it. So again, that's your meat and potatoes is your outbound, and then the inbound one, the Google Voice or the sign calls, excuse me. Those stuff that just fall in your lap, like that's the icing on the cake that just helps your business. That's not your substance.
So if I were to look at it, and I honestly think of the Pareto principle, and it would be 80% is outbound and 20% is inbound, whether that's my finances or my time. So, and it's automate as much as you can. So smart plans, make sure that you guys have newsletters going out in command and everything like that. And then I would still focus on the outbound, because the prospecting based is going to get you further, and it's going to get you on the phone with people, and the conversion happens when you're talking to them, not just messaging them back and forth. So that's how I would look at it. Do you guys have any different thoughts on that? Outbound versus inbound as we build your databases? Yeah, it's something to think about, because inbound is looked at as like, oh, that's so great, I want them to be calling me. But it is true. Just because they're calling you off the phone number, they don't know who you are. They aren't necessarily attached. They could have called 10 other agents that day. Now you can be amazing on the phone and convert them. Plenty of people do. That's the goal. However, you can't guarantee that business because you don't know when they're going to be calling you. So guarantee your business by doing the outbound prospecting. Any other thoughts on that? Or any other questions? Ahas? Thanks guys for coming. Candy's available at the front.
Thank you.
Yes, if you guys have any questions about real estate lead gen, let me know. I'm here always. So if you guys need anything, or if you guys need help coming up with plans on this stuff or how to find it, anything like that, let me know too. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Bye.
Have a good lead gen.
Love you all.